category that we can talk about is cancel culture. I'm never really a believer in cancel culture because I think that people make mistakes and ought to be given the room to change their behavior, rectify what was wrong, and, move a little differently. Sometimes it's easy to say some shit, not realizing the impact, or, not realizing what you have said have not just affected you, but a whole bunch of other people. So, sometimes you just be like, damn, I shouldn't have said that, or damn, I shouldn't have did that. And, but when you continue to do shit, you can understand why folks start to be wanting to cancel you. Okay. So, and we've had a few people this year that just came to mind when I was getting my list together. Let's start with the most obvious. That would be Kanye West. Or shall I call him Ye? Okay. That's what he likes you guys to call him these days. It's actually a very sad story. People are ready to cancel, Kanye. But I just can't bring myself to do it just yet. Even though Kanye has said and did a whole bunch of shit. Listen, I'm not going to be uplifting Kanye in any kind of way, but I'm telling you, I was listening to his earlier CDs. I can't even explain to you the talent that the music, how much good music Kanye has put out. I know it gets to a point where you just have to be like, well, fuck the music because the person is crazy. But I still feel like Kanye is just on he's where he is just, Kanye is not well. As a matter of fact, they're saying that they can't even find Kanye right now. I'm sure that Kim Kardashian and, the family can probably find him. But as far as people that are trying to serve him with subpoenas and all that, they don't know where he is and all that. I don't think that anything has happened to Kanye. But what I'm saying is, like, Kanye's, the unraveling of Kanye, I have a softer spot because I just know that this boy has some mental struggles. Okay. But he's dug the hole so deep for himself, especially with him talking about, the anti-Semitism and him talking about slavery and him talking about, like, all of the things that he says. I wonder if she realizes she left my neighbor's trunk has been open for a long, long time. I would go tell her something, but that neighbor doesn't speak to me. I've said hi to her plenty of times and the lady ain't said nothing back. So I was just like, okay. So now it's been years, which is very uncomfortable for me. Cause if I see you, I'm gonna say hi just out of respect, and it's even harder for me to ignore somebody that I see every day walking to their car and everything. Bitch, don't say nothing. I mean, she might not be a bitch or whatever, but whatever her problem is, I guess, honey, she better be glad it ain't raining or nothing. Cause honey, and who knows what she got in there. I see his shit back there, but anyway, I didn't got off to what I'm trying to say is the Kanye canceling of Kanye. While I understand it's a lot of people that want to do it, I still feel like bad for him because Kanye is not well. Kanye is something that's very, very wrong. But on top of that, he's like an egomaniac. He's a narcissist. So it's just sort of like you got all that on top of this mental illness that Kanye West got going on. It's a bad, bad combination. And I've already told you guys that I kind of feel like that story is not going to end well. But I'm not going to put any more energy into that because, of course, I don't want to put that out there in the air. But yeah, if folks want to cancel Kanye, have you guys canceled him? Another one that didn't have a good year was Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany has been on the trajectory of Tiffany has been very good. I mean, she was all of a sudden, she just blew up. And I do like Tiffany Haddish. I think that she can be funny, but I also think that her comedy sometimes can get on my nerves, and just kind of the way that she is could sometimes get on my nerves. So, but I still admired the fact that the shit was happening for her. Whoever she had in her corner, I always felt like it had something to do with Kevin Hart. I felt like Kevin Hart was putting her in the right places to meet the right people and helping her, and she was just getting roles, and she was on TV and comedy tours and all this was going on. And then this year, it just got rough for her. I know her and Common broke up. I don't know if that was this year though. Then she got pulled over for drinking and driving out here in Georgia. And then, of course, this damn skit that her and Aries Spears did on the Funny or Die website, where they are, you guys saw the video where they were talking about never leaving your child around a pedophile. But then they acted it out, and it was just in poor taste, and it was wrong. And then the people that were involved, the mother, who was also a friend of Tiffany Haddish, and her children, they ended up suing Tiffany. Tiffany said for years that they had been trying, well, Tiffany and Aries said for years that they had been trying to get money out of them. So they were kind of like trying to shake them down, and they kept refusing, which was interesting to me because the way I just told you about Tiffany's, her trajectory, it was like, why didn't you pay this woman, get her to sign some damn thing, say she won't say nothing else about it, pay her for it, and go on about your business? But see, they ended up calling the lady's bluff, and I think the lady wasn't the one that ended up doing it. One of the kids ended up being the one that pressed the charges against Tiffany Haddish, okay? They ended up dropping it because they settled out of court. She ended up paying him anyway. That's why I was saying, like, if you was going to just go on and pay him, why didn't you pay them before this story got out so big? Excuse me. And now people want to cancel you. I think that Tiffany Haddish actually is going to land on her feet. It's going to be a little rough for her, but I still think that the people are still in her corner. Not so much like they, like for Aries Spears, because he was a bit of an asshole. Even though Tiffany Haddish, she did at one point put out a statement saying something like, God has been watching. Oh, my neighbor did leave. Okay, she must have knew that her damn trunk was open. But anyway, she kind of put out some sort of tongue-in-cheek type of comment, like how people didn't really believe in her, but God got her and all of this. And it was just sort of like, again, I'm gonna need people to just realize when you have made a mistake, okay? Like, damn, I fucked up. I made some really bad decisions back then. The bitch was broke, and Funny or Die was offering this kind of money, and we thought it was funny at the time. Of course, now I wouldn't do shit like that. I mean, the temperature in the room is so much different. That kind of shit nobody would even think to do that kind of thing today, okay? But, instead of her saying some shit like that, her kind of just being like, and all y'all doubted me and all y'all, it was just like, girl, you was on the video with the kids. What you wanted us to say? What you wanted us to do? Okay? That shit was such in poor taste, and it was so awful. When I saw that video, I could not believe it. And you guys, I had already told you guys in my top of the blogs that I didn't believe that she actually had done it. I was just like, I need to see some proof, because I don't believe that she would do something like that to a child. I remember I told you guys she came from some abuse in her past, and, she had a rough childhood, and there were things that had happened to her. So I had always felt like Tiffany probably would protect kids because she had been through some of the kind of shit in her own life. So when I saw that video, I was just like, man, girl, you can't be doing no shit like this. Now, when did you, even back in 2010 or whenever that shit happened, when did you think that shit was okay? That was never okay. And nobody ever said, damn, maybe we shouldn't do this. Funny or Die ended up taking the video down some years ago. So that's why it was hard for people to find it. But once they found it, that shit was out there, and I was just like, But I do think Tiffany is going to be fine. I've been seeing her trying to get back out now. I think that if they just make Tiffany be quiet and not say nothing, that the people will be, will start to bring her back into the fold. But it's going to be a delicate dance, but I do think that she has enough people behind her that but yeah, she did lose a lot. Of course, she worked on kids say the darndest things or whatever. Like, you can't be on the show like that when you out here making videos about pedophiles and they acting the shit out. And then, of course, I feel like that movie with Queen Latifah and Regina Hall and Jada Pinkett Smith, like, I feel like that's going to be on hold for some time before, we got to bring her back and all of that. So there's a lot of things that she probably was involved in that got nixed. But I do believe that she'll be, I think that the people will start to bring her back in. She just needs to be quiet. Y'all tried to cancel Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle don't give a fuck whether he canceled or not, because there's still going to be diehard Dave Chappelle fans, even in the LGBTQ community, because those are a lot of people in the transgender, in the gay community, in the transgender community. They had problems with some of the jokes that he said on his Netflix specials. R. Kelly. Dave Chappelle has just basically said he said what he said, and that's it. And people are just going to have to get over it. And folks have decided to get over it. But there are some folks that want to cancel Dave Chappelle. I don't know if that will ever be. He's a comedian. He's an old school comedian from back in the day. New comedians don't have as much grace as the older comedians, because the older comedians are from a time where you could say certain things and it not be, a big issue. Now you can't do that. But I think that Dave Chappelle, being from that era, his whole feeling is just like, I don't give a fuck, because I'm going to say it, and it's, that's how I feel. They even tried to cancel him they tried to say he was anti-Semitic when he was on Saturday Night Live. His opening, they said that, people just really want to cancel Dave Chappelle. But, I'll ask you, have you guys canceled him? Another person that they wanted to cancel, who actually this one seemed to work pretty well, was DaBaby. Okay, Jonathan. Mama named him Jonathan, whatever it is. I didn't do the mama named him because I ain't put everybody's name in here, and child, I ain't got time to be looking up these names. But I done told you what the mama named him a while ago. But yeah, DaBaby, another one who was everywhere. Music all on the radios, everywhere, all on social media. Every time I turned around, DaBaby this, DaBaby that. I liked his music. I thought his videos was clever and all of that. And then just a series of events started to happen. Like I told you guys, when he said what he said on that rolling out loud or whatever it's called stage, and he talked about, if you don't have HIV, you ain't out kissing people and doing that. When he offended the gay community, and then he got into the tizzy with the damn baby mama and, both of the baby mamas, and then he treated them so bad, especially the Danny Lay girl, and then he ended up getting into a fight with the brother, and they basically jumped the brother at the bowling alley out there in LA somewhere, and he just started to go down like this path where it was just sort of like, yeah, folks ain't fucking with you no more. They started canceling his gigs, and he was losing money left and right, and it was just a lot happening. It was a lot happening to DaBaby. And when I finally saw him show up at when Kanye was going through that, where he was every few minutes having another album release spectacle, because I don't know what else to call it, when he was having the albums, the hit listenings, the listening parties, and they were in stadiums and everything. But when he had Marilyn Manson and DaBaby show up at when I was just like, okay, I don't really know what you're going through, DaBaby, but the folks don't like you no more. Okay. Now we finding out that he got gigs and they ain't selling out the tickets, and the tickets is 2 for 1, and the tickets is low, and folks ain't coming, and all of this. Some of it might just be because of social media. Every story is out there, and it might not be as bad as we think it is. But definitely DaBaby, the popularity of DaBaby is not the same as it was like 2 years ago. Like his image has suffered because of some of the things that he has done and said, to other people. So, yeah, he was also one that they have canceled. Have you guys canceled DaBaby? And then, of course, we can talk about the slap that was heard around the world. And that would be the slap that Will Smith did to Chris Rock at the Oscars. Man, I remember that shit like it was yesterday. I was watching the Oscars. I was just laying on, in bed and just kind of watching. And when Will Smith went up there and slapped him, I was just like, now, was that an act? Like, what was that? What happened? Okay. And very, very, very quickly, I realized that was not an act, that definitely was real, and that definitely just happened. You know, when he was like, keep my wife's name out your motherfucking mouth. When he yelled that out a few times, I was like, oh. And child, it was all over social media. And I was I just could not believe it. Now, I like I like Will Smith. I actually like Chris Rock. I like both of them. Okay. And I just was it was so unfortunate that Will Smith did that. I was very, very disappointed. Okay. Because I know people will get up here and say he was defending his wife and he was this and that. I don't even know if I feel like it had really anything to do with Jada. I feel like there's a lot of things that Will Smith was going through, and the shit just all came to a head at the Oscars, and Chris Rock was the first one that was going to get it. Okay. I don't think Will Smith would have done that to, to other people. He obviously knew who he could do that to, but I just feel like Will Smith had kind of blacked out and was upset and went up there and slapped Chris Rock. Now, the fallout from that slap, okay, y'all can be all taken up for Will Smith all you want, but the bottom line is the bottom line has been affected. All right. I knew just the personality of Will Smith. After you read his book, I've told you guys this before, you kind of have like a better idea of how Will Smith like ticks, like what makes him who he is. I knew after that slap, it was going to be hard for him, that he was going to be harder on himself than really anybody else could be, because he was one of those, he was a people pleaser, and he does not like the idea of people not liking him. And so the bigger story with this is, okay, yes, you have humiliated this grown-ass black man on this stage. He's a comedian who's making a joke about your wife, however tasteless. It wasn't even that bad of a joke. Yes, I understand that she has alopecia, but even before she was having hair struggles that we knew about, Jada Pinkett Smith has always shaved her head. Okay, that's something that she was doing. She wore her hair very short, even back when she was on A Different World. Okay, so I don't even know if I felt like Jada Pinkett Smith was really that upset. Anyway, child, it ain't no sense in going over that, because I'm just going to bring up the people that want to argue about it. And I don't care one way or the other. But what I'm saying is, people were ready to cancel him. I was not going to cancel Will Smith because I knew it was a bad decision. But I didn't think that was the person that he was. It was something that he did. And yes, I wish he hadn't done that. But I didn't think that he was really a bad person. It was a bad fucking day. Okay. His head was wrong. His head was bad, like my dad would say. But, he's not, first of all, they done banned him from the Oscars for some years. It's going to be for a long ass time. He's been snubbed. Well, let them tell it. He's been snubbed in the nominations because he can still get like Golden Globe and the other nominations, just not the Oscars. But they're saying that he was snubbed for Emancipation. I saw Emancipation and it was not all that good. I just was like, first of all, I'm over the slave movies. It's so hard to see just when blatant, like, it's just like, I don't want to see another slave movie. It's not really convincing when it's Will Smith. It's hard for me to take out the Will Smith and believe the character that he's trying to play, because I still just look up there and I see Will Smith. I just can't get past it. So, and then the movie is just really harsh, and it's just really, it's very, I'm sure all of this shit happened. I'm not saying that it's not true and all that. I'm sure all of those things happened, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't like the movie. And then Mr. made me watch it on Christmas night, and I was just like, now all the good shit that's on TV, why am I watching a slave movie on Christmas night? This was not the right time for that movie to even be coming out. I'm sure that they delayed it because of the slap, but it was just sort of like, But like I said, Will Smith, the fact that everybody has not just accepted him back yet, because there's still a lot of people that are upset with him. And I can just tell you this, unless you Chris Rock family, Chris Rock's real close friends and shit, I don't see why the rest of y'all mad. Them people still need to be mad. If they want to be mad, then they can still be mad. Okay. But everybody else is just sort of like, what? Like I said, it wasn't like Will Smith was a bad guy to begin with. Yeah, he just was fucked up that night. He did something wrong, but I didn't feel like it was something that we needed to just hold him to the cross and he never gonna be. But like I said, he hasn't been able to forgive himself. You can tell that he's still in that space where he is like trying to, kind of come back out, but he's not the same Will Smith that he had been before everything. He's still not there yet. He's not that boisterous, happy-go-lucky, positive. He still has all of that in him, but you can tell that he's still uncomfortable and not knowing how people are going to receive him. So they are not, so he's not, he's still on shaky ground. And he may have placed his own self there. But yeah, there's still a lot of people that wanted to cancel Will, but I'm not going to ever cancel Will. I mean, not ever, because if he do some shit that's just 100% foul all the way, then he will, I won't want to deal with him. But I'm not canceling Will Smith. He made a mistake. I'm still going to support Will in the things that he does. Okay? And now let's move on to the next category. You guys, this next one I said let's do us relationships type of category. Okay, and it's just a few relationships that just popped into my mind while I was thinking. First, let's talk about Irv Gotti versus Ashanti. And Irv Gotti still I think being obsessed with Ashanti. Ashanti said that she thinks that he hates her and that he would actually like to see her dead. Now that is some strong ass words, but I mean, I guess Ashanti would know best. But when he was promoting his documentary for, Murder Inc., when he was promoting the documentary, of course he went on to Drink Champs and he had said all of that stuff and he was talking, so like he was bragging about the fact that he was seeing Ashanti. Now he was still married at the time. I don't know if they were actively married, like living together, but he was still married. But he just told like a lot of the stuff about their relationship when she was, young girl in Murder Inc. and an artist on the label, and he was what I think is taking advantage of her. He's 10 years at least older than her, and she's a girl that's trying to climb up in the music business. Yeah, she's old enough to know that she shouldn't be doing that, but also when you're in a position where it's lights, camera, action, it's music, it's money, it's alcohol, it's Hollywood, it's glitz and glamour and all that. It's easy to sweep up a child that don't know as much as you do as somebody that's 12 years older than them. You can take advantage of her. And I think that that's what happened. I think once she realized that, this shit ain't cool and it ain't going nowhere. And then she broke up with him, or broke off from him, because they were never a true couple, but broke off from him and ended up getting into a relationship with Nelly and all that shit happened. I don't think Irv Gotti was able to recover. And so you could tell from the way that he was talking about it, just the tone of how he spoke about their relationship in the past, it just was it was in poor taste, and just sort of like, what is wrong with you? You are obsessed with her, and why are you even talking about this? And it's one way to promote the documentary, but it's other to just be sitting up there telling your homeboys, like, you just tell them, yeah, and I had her in the shower, and I just grabbed her ass, and I did. It was just sort of like, And Ashanti has never been one to really talk much on that relationship. Of course, I'm sure she wouldn't want to, because it doesn't make her look good. He was married, and she knew that, but she was young and everything. And I think everybody just kind of was like, okay, we've all made stupid mistakes. And when it came to relationships and shit when we were young, but when she finally knew better, she did better, and so she did finally take up for herself a little bit on Angie Martinez's show. But, it wasn't a win for Irv Gotti at all. It was just like, why are you presenting this girl to us in that way? Okay? Just old bitch ass. Just talking and saying shit he ain't had no business talking. I mean, it happened. It was part of his life, but still, some things just better left unsaid. We can imagine how your relationship probably went. You didn't need to be going on blasting that girl like this all these years later just so people can watch your documentary. Did you guys watch the damn documentary? I didn't. Another relationship story, Bennifer. Okay, this kind of white folks news, even though, you know, Jennifer Lopez kind of, depending on who she with. She was black with Puffy, and then she was Mexican or Puerto Rican with Mark Anthony, and now she's, you know, with Bennifer, with Ben. So anyway, you guys, that story was interesting because after she had broke up with Alex, A-Rod, when she broke up with A-Rod, I'm talking about 2 days later, she was back in the arms of Ben Affleck. And they've been together ever since. And child, they done got married, had a big old wedding out here. And, you know, they got married in Vegas. And then they had another big to do out here, big weekend out here in Georgia somewhere. And honey, no looking back. She done took his last name, and honey, she done brought the kids all together, his kids and her kids. I was just like, only a few people can do these kind of things, okay? And Jennifer Lopez had jumped out of one relationship straight into another one, and didn't nobody say nothing. But honey, we don't give some of these other girls a hard ass time that try to do the same thing. I don't know what it is about Jennifer Lopez. I guess it's just the amount of not giving a fuck and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna do what the hell I want to do in the name of love. Okay. And this is her third marriage. She's been engaged 100 times. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, her first marriage was to the dancer. Or was it, yeah, I think it was the dancer, then it was Mark Anthony, and now Ben Affleck. So, yeah, honey, that Jennifer don't let the grass grow under her feet too long, honey. When she, listen, if the shit ain't working with you, then she gonna move on to the next man. And Ben Affleck, we'll see if it lasts. If this is something, you know, that is just temporary, you know, regular Jennifer Lopez fare, or if she really is going to be in it for the long haul. But yeah, that was an interesting relationship this year. Another relationship, or should I say relationships with an S on the end, is Nick Cannon and his abundance, his cornucopia, just a plethora of baby mamas and kids out there. I think at the last count, he has 7 baby mamas. 7 baby mamas. Okay, if we threw Mariah Carey on in there too. And 10 kids. One child, unfortunately, did die from a brain condition that the baby had. But other than that, you know, Nick Cannon is just a whole bunch of fucking kids and a whole bunch of baby mamas, and we just can't understand. And I refuse to even try to understand now. Okay, that is none of my concern. It's been Christmas time, and you know, Christmas time is a time for you to spend time with your family. Nick Cannon was on an interview somewhere saying how he has spread himself very thin and how hard it is for him to see all of the people that he needs to see. And how it makes him guilty. And I was just like, are you really actually admitting that? And do you want people to feel sorry for you? What's the reason why you're saying this? Is this so that people can now attack you in the comments? Because what do you want us to say to this? Because you and your wayward dick is the only reason why you have all these kids, and you have control over that. All right? But you have made those decisions, and then so for you to, even in the same year, this ain't even some shit that you done came up with, you know, maybe 5-10 years down the line, be like, yeah, I fucked up. I shouldn't have had all these kids. And you doing that when you just had all these kids. You basically have had all these kids this year, okay? He had a whole bunch of kids this year. And don't nobody feel sorry. Ain't nobody feeling sorry for you. Ain't nobody feeling sorry for you. He tried to get mad at Lil Duval because Lil Duval was just like, it took him this long to realize that, you know, he's spread thin. Well, apparently also in that interview, he was talking about the death of his, you know, the baby that had passed. But Lil Duval was not talking about that part of the video. He was just talking about the part where Nick Cannon was saying that he was spread thin. And Nick Cannon had the nerve to come back in the comments and was like, if you need to have a conversation with me about this, you know, then you need to call me. You know, like, what's funny basically about me talking about the death of my son? Well, nigga, wasn't nobody talking about the death of your son. We talking about the fact that you spread thin for all these fucking kids, and you want us to do what about this now? Because what this information is supposed to do to us? Like, what? How are we supposed to help you with this? Nigga, you shouldn't have been fucking all these women and having all these damn kids. Okay? You can fuck all the people you want. You can have sex with everybody, anybody, but you don't have to create another human being, because that human being now is your responsibility. And yes, even though Akon would have you think differently, you should be trying to spend time with your children. Okay, you should have some influence. You should have a presence in your child's life, and not just something that you occasionally come over for an hour or two. You know, Akon, he done got the people so pissed off. And I don't understand that kind of thinking. I'm not sure if that's cultural. Some people are saying, yeah, well, he's African. He comes from a nation where you're allowed to have multiple wives and all that. So the way that he thinks is not the Western civilization way. It's not the way that we as Americans believe. I don't know what it is, but for Akon to be co-signing the shit and saying, oh, Nick Cannon don't need to be involved in his kid's life. He paid for him. He take care of him. And that's it. Well, that's the reason why it's a many fucked up ass kids that grow up to be fucked up ass adults, because of that kind of thinking. Well, as long as I pay the bills, then you shouldn't be upset. It's just like, what about my emotional health? What about, me wanting to spend time with you? That's something that money can't buy, And so Akon saying that, I was just like, I ain't got time. And Akon saying this ignorant ass shit. He knows, even if he does truly believe that, he knows that that's not the way that we think here in the United States. He knew that that was going to be a big brouhaha, and the folks was going to have a lot to say about that. And, when people do that kind of shit, I just be like, do you really believe this? You doing this shit for attention or a little bit of both? I can't worry about Akon. I don't know how many kids and wives and shit he got. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, that story, Nick Cannon's story, has been huge. We'll see if he has any more. One of the baby mamas, the black one, she was the one that had a lot to say, but then I turned around and looked, and next thing I know, she was doing Christmas pictures with him and all this, and happy that he was spending time. But she had then came out and said that, she had made some bad decisions, and the fact that people were saying all these things about her were hurtful, and calling her baby mama number 528 and all this stuff. Social media can be bad, but anytime you try to turn your thoughts, when you're a person that's being watched so closely like that, and then you try to go on social media and say some shit, people are going to respond, so she was fussing back and forth with the people in the comments and people talking about it. I was just like, girl, just get off of social media and go raise your child. And, hopefully Nick Cannon is going to do what he can do to help you and child. But again, ain't nobody forced you to have this baby with Nick. Okay. So sometimes when we make these decisions, we got to live with them. And yes, you should have known that it was going to be difficult for Nick to be there. All right. So, but she say she doing fine. So, if she say she fine, then she fine, y'all. Y'all leave that girl alone. But yeah, Nick Cannon, I bet you there's maybe about 2 more kids coming. I bet you about 2 more. And then the last relationship that came to mind was, of course, Puffy and Carisha. Okay. I don't know what to make of that relationship. I don't know what it is and where it is at this point, because the last thing that I think I saw that she put on social media was something like, thank you next. Okay. As if she was saying that she wasn't fooling with Puffy no more because he wasn't careful with her feelings and her heart. Okay. Because when that came out, the video, the picture had just recently come out that Puffy was kissing yet another girl, or out with another girl, not the one that I even told you guys about in the other video, but another girl. And Carisha supposedly had responded to that by saying, thank you next. But Carisha also could have been saying, like, thank you next. Like, yeah, thank you next. Like, I already knew about her. Like, what's the big deal? I already told you we not in a relationship. We only friends. And, I can't worry about it. Carisha is grown enough to know how she should be moving with this. Okay. And all we can do is sit back and watch and see what Puffy gonna do. But I'm gonna tell you what, that fucking video that Puffy posted on Christmas when he was in his black Santa hat, And he was yelling at the interview that was playing on the TV between G Herbo, is that his name? G Herbo and Carisha. That shit was about the funniest fucking video. I'm telling you, I watched that like 10 or 15 times because that damn Puffy, he is funny as hell. He is funny as hell. You know, in a damn, you know, coked up kind of way. He always seemed like he owned something, but that shit was funny. That shit was funny. But anyway, yeah, I mean, listen, I done told y'all already. If she like it and he like it, then guess what? Rocky love it. Okay? Y'all gonna do y'all. Ain't nobody getting hurt. Even though I beg to differ, you know, Carisha, I believe that if the feelings really truly do get involved, you know, she definitely can get hurt. But, honey, she say she is city girl, fuck a nigga and all of that, so I can't worry myself about it, okay? So that's it on the relationships. And now I just got just a group of other little stories that I'm going to give y'all real quick. And then we going to wrap this shit up because I got to go get back to my day, you guys. I just told you I'm going to have me a glass of wine. So let's move on to the next.